Welcome back to the show. We're here today with Eitan Sharir, who's going to walk us through his life journey in discovering his purpose. So welcome to the show, Eitan.
Thank you, Jivi.
So tell me about this journey and tell me about how this journey helps you in working with organizations.
Well, it all started when I was 31 years old. I was managing a company in South Africa still. And one Friday afternoon, I got a phone call from a friend of mine who told me that a common friend of ours, his name was Peter, was diagnosed with an advanced cancer of the colon. He was 42 years old, lovely young wife, 2 young kids, ultra-marathon runner. And out of the blue, they found a huge lump, a cancerous lump in his stomach.
Okay.
And when I heard about that, something turned on. It was as though a switch turned on in my head. And I went home and went into a very deep contemplation, or what I at the time called a life reconciliation. I seriously looked at my life and asked myself, who am I? What is this life about? What am I doing in this? And if I am in Peter's shoes, how would I live my life for the rest of my life?
Okay.
And for that whole weekend, I went and wrote for as long as I possibly could. And by the Sunday evening, I realized that as much as I was professionally committed to my job, and I was doing very well at the time, it wasn't my life purpose.
Okay.
And the next question was, so what was my life purpose? And it was then that I realized that I had so many things that were attached to who I thought that I was, my image, my self-image, my car, my position at work, the few accumulated assets that I've amassed. And I started to feel extreme fear.
Okay.
What will I do without all those things? And I then decided to put them all aside, all these things that I was attached to, and ask myself, if I was not attached to these, and if these were not an issue, what would I ultimately want to do with my life? And I thought about it, and eventually what came to me was that I wanted to help people become more successful and happy. And in essence, thinking about it afterwards, what I really wanted is to find more success and happiness for myself that was away from the normal convention of society, which is more money, more fame, and more power.
Okay.
And on Monday morning, I had a meeting with the chairman of the group who I reported to. I told him about my friend Peter and what I'd gone through over the weekend, and I resigned.
Okay.
It was then my time to start seriously considering what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it. I had a 3-month notice period, which I served, and then started my own business, which was 15 years ago.
Wow. Now, Eitan, you said something interesting. You used the words life reconciliation. What does that mean?
Well, I came to a point when I heard about my friend Peter, who unfortunately died 7 months after that, where I realized that I was waking up sometimes in the morning feeling that something is still missing in my life.
Okay.
And I didn't know what it was, because I was supposed to be living this American dream in South Africa. You know, everything was really going very well. I had a wonderful wife, a great relationship, friends, job. And still, from time to time, I would wake up and feel that there's something that was empty. And I couldn't understand what it was. And when that incident happened with my friend Peter, I think what I was forced to do, not conceptually or theoretically, but in reality, was to confront my life head on and to start seriously thinking about, what am I doing here? What is this? So I've got these things, but I'm still from time to time feeling that something's missing.
Of course.
And it was then that I started to study a little bit further and read a little bit more about life condition, human behavior, and began to realize that people have different perspectives in life.
Okay.
And there's a certain perspective that is what I call a horizontal perspective, where people's main focus in life and the reason why they get up in the morning is mainly survival. It's how do I cope better today? And the two key driving motivators from that perspective, and most people come from that perspective, first of all, the first one is fear. A lot of people do a lot of things out of fear and don't do a lot of what they want to do because of fear. And the second perspective, the second driving motivator is craving, or what we know is greed, or desire for some. But desire can be mislabeled in many different ways. What I also found is that from that horizontal perspective, people have the sense that something's always missing in their life. Irrespective of how much they accumulate and achieve, most people still wake up some mornings and feel that something is still missing. So they carry on getting on, they jump on this wheel and carry on running and running and running, chasing the next thing that we've been told that we need to get, the next car, the next holiday, the next job, the next million, whatever it really is, it doesn't really matter.
Of course.
Okay, what does matter is what's driving. And what's driving here is that something's missing. And if something's missing, it means that I need to look forward to the next thing, which is also what we find from the horizontal perspective. Is people are always waiting.
True
waiting
enough.
for the weekend, waiting for the holiday, waiting for the next relationship, waiting for the next marriage, waiting for the next child, and never really finding it. Because when they do achieve those things, they feel wonderful for a day, 2 days, a month, and then they wake up one morning and they realize that something is still missing.
Of course.
So they go back on the wheel. And I could never understand where these things came from. And so I developed this, I think, insatiable appetite or passion, whatever you want to call it, into understanding human behavior and human condition, and mainly to understand me and my life and what was going on.
Of course.
And what I then realized is that there was also a vertical perspective, where people who were more vertical were getting up in the morning, and their main purpose in life was to create something new, to move forward, to evolve. And people who are more vertical, are people that are also more creative, more innovative, they are more authentic, they are more real, because they're not being chased by this fear or having to look good.
Of course.
People who are more vertical are also more present, because people who are horizontal, as we talked about before, are living more in the past and more in the future. So a lot of what defines who they are today and how they make decisions today is based on incidents, events, and circumstances, things that have happened in the past.
Yeah.
Whereas people who are more vertical are people who are more present,
Of course.
more content with who they are, and yet very focused and very diligent, and understand that life is about moving forward, it's about continuously evolving, and within that, there's also a dimension of the giving,
Of
the
course.
contribution. And when we talk about life purpose, at every single different level or different perspective, there are different life purposes.
True.
For most people, it may be unconscious, but we all have a life purpose. For some people, it's to survive. For other people, it's to cope. For other people, it's to go and create something. For other people, it's to amass some things. For other people, it's to be a somebody at a horizontal level. And what I started looking into is, so what is the highest life purpose that I want to create for myself? And started reading more literature, attended many different spiritual retreats, read many books on spirituality, on religion, because I think they point the way to that. And wanted to move away from the dogma. And what I've created for myself in terms of a life purpose is that I've realized that life is about an experience. That most people want to have a good experience of life, a great experience of life, a joyful experience of life, a loving experience of life. Now, all these are very subjective, because joy for one person or love for another person may be very, very different things.
Now, Eitan, there a couple of questions come to mind. One is that why is it people need a trigger in order for them to go into that mode of, okay, I need to really figure out what is missing for, because I've heard that repetitively. I've heard that there's always some sort of a traumatic trigger, whether it's a personal experience or whether it's an experience with somebody else. There's always a trigger that triggers somebody to figure that out. So if, for example, I was looking at this course once called 365 Days to Live, and the course, which is taught in Vancouver, I can't remember by which university, but you walk through, if you only had 365 days to live, what would you do every day of your life? So why is it that people make the choice to live the way they live? Is it because we don't accept that we are mortal? Is it because we, like, what is that trigger for people?
What a wonderful question. I don't believe that we need a trigger. I don't believe that we have to have a wake-up call like I had. Unfortunately, I had to wait until I was 31 years old to get that wake-up call.